Hey guys, welcome to another episode of the High Ticket Coaching and Consultant Strategy and Growth Show. Now, if you're watching this interview anywhere else but within our private Facebook community called High Ticket Client Attraction Insider Circle, definitely come check us out. That group was put together specifically for our coaches, consultants, and service providers who are serious about getting up to that 6 and that 7-figure level. So if that's you, definitely come check us out. So today I want to introduce you to one of the members of our community, Courtney Nicole. Welcome, Courtney.
Thanks. Glad to be here.
Awesome. Love it. So tell us, what do you do?
I work exclusively with solopreneurs and freelancers. I work as a business coach for them. A lot of times people think they don't need a business coach until they have a thriving business, but I would submit that you can't have a thriving business unless you go with other people that have been there before.
Yeah, love it, love it. So now what got you interested in this topic?
It was something that I naturally just began to do. One of my friends came to me a couple years ago and said, hey, we brainstormed that problem I was having the other day, and I just wanted you to know that your idea saved me about $10,000. And I said, well, then I guess you're going to be taking me to a nice steak dinner. And then I realized that I probably should start to charge for these types of services because they were valuable to others.
Yeah. And it's so crazy, right? So most of the times, most individuals who do get into any type of coaching consultant role, you find that the information for you, it's like it's a no-brainer, but other people, you realize like, holy goodness, like, everyone doesn't know that?
Yes.
Yeah.
I really am obsessed with solutions. So that happens just in everyday life. If I hear the words like, I can't figure out how, I'm like, yes. And then my ears kind of tune into that conversation. Even at coffee shops locally, sometimes I'll hear people having conversations about marketing or their small business and just feel like I have to chime in. So with most of my clients, when they're trying to find out the niche that they really want to work in, I usually encourage them to think about the conversations that they would be confident to butt in on. And that helps people find out what they're really great at. For instance, one time I heard someone talking about a new landscaping business that he was launching. I was just sitting at a coffee shop and he said, yeah, I'm going to launch a landscaping business. I got a marketing guy. We're going to do a whole marketing campaign on Tumblr. And I was like, whoa, unless your market is 12-year-old girls, I'm not sure Tumblr is a great place to go. But just being able to have those free conversations, not because I'm an expert in marketing, but feeling confident enough in multiple areas to speak with authority on different subjects.
Yeah, I love it. So would you say you help, again, you said freelancers? Okay. Why did you, go ahead.
That's mostly, photographers, graphic designers, anyone who's charging a premium for mostly a service. So web designers, a lot of times, app designers, anybody who does that, all coaches and consultants that are just trying to start out.
Yeah. So why specifically those individuals?
Because I was a freelancer myself for 15 years. And one of my favorite stories to tell is how I used to spin up a business. I worked in a nonprofit for 6 years and we were traveling the world, and oftentimes we weren't taking a paycheck because we were just trying to do great work. And throughout that, if I ever needed money, to pay my car payment or do other things, we'd come home for a month-long break every year. And when we'd come back to the States for that break, I would just spin up a business and I would make websites, and I could usually make enough money in 1 month to live for the whole year. And I realized that that wasn't something that everyone was capable of doing. So I started to share my tips and tricks for how to spin up a quick business. And then I started to study what it would take to make that quick business more sustainable. And my findings seemed to be helping a lot of people. So then I tried to customize the information so it could be most useful.
Yeah, awesome. So what type of freelance work did you do when you were full-time?
I'm one of those Swiss Army humans. So I have a lot of really random skills. Somebody's like, I need scissors. I'm like, they're tiny, but I've got them. So I usually did things around design, graphic design, concept design. I dabbled in some architectural design, web design, things like that. Just really trying to, again, solve a problem and make something really beautiful and appealing to someone.
Awesome. Are you an artist? Do you draw at all? Do you paint and stuff like that as well too?
No, you put a pen in my hand, all of a sudden all that comes out are really crooked stick figures. So I'm much more of a computer and a digital artist, but I enjoy working with spaces. Just last night, I was helping my in-laws redesign their kitchen. I'm not a kitchen architect by any means, but I can at least get the concept down so that they can feel free to go and build on it.
Awesome. Good. That's awesome. So I guess the next question becomes, so you said you kind of figured out how to build businesses or whatever to where you could make in a couple of months, make enough money for the entire year. and stuff
Hmm.
like that. But then you had to make a shift to say, okay, how do you make it more sustainable? So I guess if someone wanted to get started, let's say build up a quick business, what would you recommend?
My number one like kind of framework is who, what, and why. So you always start with your why. Why do you want to do this? Because every time you stumble a little bit, you're going to go back to that. Just like climbing a mountain, right? If you said, I want to climb because I want to stand on top of that mountain and see the whole city below. If you stumbled and you scraped your knee, you'd realize, hey, this isn't going to stop me from continuing to climb because that's my goal. And then coming up with a really intimate and personal why, then figure out, like why you and who does that serve. So go out into the market, and it's not about demographics or anything else. It's who has a problem that you feel you'd be an expert to solve.
Mhm.
So sometimes it's, there are a lot of businesses hidden in plain sight that people don't even think about. How do you deal with having kids at home while school's not in session during this COVID crisis or things like that? Well, come up with a website where you can send out activities or do live Facebook readings. There are all kinds of ways to serve a community that has problems that they don't know how to solve. And then afterwards, designing your what is kind of the easy piece. And then you just price it. You figure out,
Mhm.
what is this worth to someone that I want to serve based on why I'm qualified to do it. And kind of just going between those three core pieces of why am I doing this, who am I serving, and what am I doing to serve them, and then focusing in on that problem. So
Mhm.
I think if you are, saying, hey, I'll come around and I'll clip 2 blades of grass in your lawn, people are like, that doesn't that doesn't serve me. That is not a problem that I have. And even if I had it, why is 2 blades? Like, that doesn't make any sense. I need my whole lawn mowed. So making sure that your problem makes sense to the people you're trying to serve, and make sure it's something that urgently everyone is struggling with. If it's a lawn service that you provide, don't go up to someone with a highly manicured lawn. They've figured out that problem and they've already solved it themselves. So look for people and the indicators that there's a problem that needs solving. One of the things that I did in my spin up business was websites. And I would go just to all of the coffee shops in town, because I found out that they would spin up a brick and mortar really quickly, forget about the website, and neglect a lot of their potential customers. So I was able to pitch that potential solution to them. And looking at their website, finding out it was difficult to navigate, I'd make them a little fake, mock-up website, and pretty soon they saw the value of it.
Mhm. Love it, love it. And I love what you said about there's so many businesses like hidden in plain sight, right? Because I believe that with every, just like even with COVID-19 going on right now, there's all these different, most people see it as like this challenging thing, this like, oh my God, this is this disaster or something, versus there's a lot of creative individuals, entrepreneurs who see, oh, here's an opportunity for this, here's that, here's this. So that's so fascinating.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So now the question becomes, in terms of something you said as far as, how does someone make it sustainable then?
Mm-hmm. I think that you have to go back to your core, and that's why the why is so important.
Hmm.
Because just like climbing a mountain, you're going to go up a path, and sometimes it'll be clear, and right after COVID, your services may be really relevant. And then there may be a tree in the path, or it may have washed out. And at those moments, you need to determine whether or not it's worth circumventing the barrier to your goal, or if you need to find another path entirely. And I think sometimes being willing and flexible to find a new path to the same goal is what can make or break a freelance career. If you really want to serve people and you feel the best when you are providing something that someone can't provide for themselves, then the way in which you provide that can change. I think that's why having a coach is so essential to sustainability, because they can see other paths. They can see other ways up the mountain, might even be shorter or more lucrative, or all these other, priorities you may have. But for yourself and the experience you've had on that mountain, that path is all you know. So I think coming up with a really great support system, it can just be your best friend who's really great at business, or that uncle who's started a couple hedge funds, or whatever it is, but making sure that your whole team is ready, because when it comes to stumbling and trying to find creative solutions around, pandemics or market fluctuations, that it's important to know that you have a backup plan, that you have someone standing behind you who can also speak to, hey, if we just did it this way, we could get over this tree. Or I've got some climbing gear, why don't we go around the other side where the rocks are? And making sure that that process is easy.
Hmm. Awesome, love it. So, what about skills wise? What's one skill you'd say you've mastered that's gotten you to your level of success today?
I think it's creativity, more
Hmm.
specifically problem solving.
Hmm.
I design solutions is really big up on my vision board, because that's how I calibrate whether or not I take a job, whether or not I work with someone, is trying to make sure that at the end of the day, it is solving a problem. Because if there isn't a problem, there isn't urgency, there isn't that commitment, and you don't get the buy-in from clients, from mentors, from everyone in my life who has to believe in me in order for me to succeed. I really want to focus on my ability to solve problems. I'm not very good at sticking with something 20 years. I'm not that old, so I haven't had the chance to do that, but I'm also very jump around. If this doesn't work, try a better way. Work smarter, not harder type of a mentality. And for some people that works, and for some it doesn't. So
Yeah.
understanding that that specific skill is not necessary for everyone, but for the ones that need it, it's very, very helpful.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's so true. Because definitely in business, especially when it comes to money exchanging hands for product services, like if you're not talking about a problem someone has and helping them solve that problem, anything else is just a quick fire way to have a really expensive hobby, right?
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not about the band-aids. If we were handing out band-aids, we could do it for free on a street corner. But as coaches and consultants, I really do believe that we're handling amputations, and we're handling rehab, and we're handling much more advanced metaphorical medical issues. So
Hmm.
being prepared to handle those means you have to have some mental agility. You have to have some strength behind what you're doing. And it can't just be oh yeah, here, just try this. I don't know, Google it. Because they're not coming to us to Google something. They're coming to us because we know something that no one else knows. And that's why I think there's plenty of space.
Yeah, yeah, awesome. Yeah, because it's so true. Because most coaches, and it's fascinating too, because a lot of the coaches I found, a lot of them come from a place of only seeing the good in others, seeing the good in everything. So when it comes time to doing marketing, a lot of them avoid "Well, I don't want to talk about the problems. I don't want to do this. I don't want to do that. I just want to focus on the beautiful vision, the bright side, the sunny days, and those different types of things." But as you and I know that they always say that. Bad news, it spreads way faster and it gets way more attention than any
Mm-hmm.
of the good news, right? So just like today, it's a really sunny day outside, but that's not what people really care about. People care about what's happening to the media, right?
Yep. I like it. No,
Exactly,
and
exactly.
for me, even having conversations with someone, if I say, "What's new with you?" and they're like, "Everything's fantastic," I'm like, "Okay, then what are we talking about?" But if they say, "Well, I got this real big problem," then we
Uh-huh.
can sink our teeth in. You may have noticed I use a lot of analogies. I'd say that's another one of I call it my superpower. But one of my favorite analogies is also to do with a car mechanic. If you took your car into the mechanic and they ran a diagnostic and you came back to pick it up and they said, "Hey, I need $4,000. You have a beautiful car." You'd be like, "This doesn't make sense." Right? But
Exactly.
if they sat down with you and they spent 80% of the time talking about, "I opened up the hood, I found this blockage is causing this problem, you're going to lose your engine, it's going to cost $10,000 if you don't fix it," and they really focused in on the problem and their knowledge of the problem,
Hmm.
then when they say, "I only need $4,000, I'll be able to fix it," you go back to driving your beautiful car, which it is, by the way. You can still
Hmm.
appreciate and bookend a conversation with, appreciating the good, seeing the good, the potential, the hope. But I think the bulk of a conversation, if you are a diagnostician, if you are someone who's excellent at fixing things and improving upon something, you
Hmm.
got to get comfy talking about issues and talking about problems.
Yeah, yeah, that's so true because that's what the value is. If you can't show the value, if you just say, "Hey, this is what it is," or whatever, and that's one thing I teach. I was actually hosting a live webinar to just a few of my friends. But the whole philosophy is like, hey, before you ever get into talking about price and this, that thing, you want to be able to show the value. You want to show the
Mm-hmm.
pain. You want to show, hey, here's what it's going to cost you, all these different things, and then you make your recommendation, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Mine's 10-80-10. So 10% I say, "Hey, I've seen this car before. I'm not new in the business. This is what I'm typically known for." Then 80%, "Here's what you're up against. And I
Mhm.
am really scared if you walk out of here without some help." And then 10% saying, "But it's an easy fix. We need to work together." And then the value's already explained because they realize the magnitude of the issue that they're trying to face by themselves.
Mhm. Okay. So you seem to be pretty knowledgeable on marketing and that type of stuff. Has marketing sales always been your strong point?
I wouldn't say so. I think sales is something I really focused in on when I began my own coaching business,
Hmm.
because I wasn't comfortable in charging for my services. I wasn't confident in them. Even though I had a great track record and I had at least 100 people say, you should charge for this. I didn't know how much to charge. And then if I dealt with price objections, I had to navigate them. So I just decided to really throw myself into it and be like, how many different ways can I approach this issue? Come up with creative solutions. And then I just asked. I talked to mentors I knew who were excellent at solving problems. And I said, hey, this is what I'm trying to learn. Can you give me some tips? I'm bad at it. Show me. And coming in with that humility helped me to grow in sales. I'd say marketing was more of a natural skill because of my affinity for problem solving and my passion for people watching. I loved watching people in airports when I was traveling overseas and just seeing how cultural, differences affected people's ability to navigate within their environment. And I think that's what marketing is. You're faced with an option and it's just like a little signpost on a go this way or this way on those trail analogies. And I think what you put on that signpost matters.
Yeah. What would you say is your biggest strong point as far as just basically had to look at your whole life in general? What would you say you're the one thing you're best at? I know it's problem solving, but what's another one?
I think the deep end is where I thrive. I have dealt with some personal struggles in my life. I did not have a great upbringing. So it's hard to scare me. For some people, they're like, hey, let's just splish splash in the, they deal with their clients like their kids. If we're going to the ocean and it's like, look, the water's safe. Look, splash, splash. But I see the guy that's, a couple hundred meters out and is flailing and is drowning, and I'm willing to jump in, and I feel like I have the skills and the muscles inside of my mental state to adjust and to help people when they really feel like I'm in way, way, way too deep. So bringing them back to the more comfortable place, but more importantly, I think it's equipping them. So the next time they're in the deep end, they're confident. And they're like, no, Courtney said I could do this. I got this. And I think everybody's got that ability. So that's why I love analogies, because you can take very, very deep, personal and sensitive topics and really bring it down to a level that everybody can swallow. The whole spoonful of sugar thing, it's not about sugar coating it. It's about making it palatable for everybody to ingest.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. Now, what's a story you could share with us? Goodness, this is my voice here. But what's a story you could kind of share with us? Because I like asking the question, like, to the place where you are in your life, your business today, the level of success you've created. What's one story from your past you could share with us that we could say, so that's how you kind of got to where you are today?
We're talking about more of a turning point, or?
Yeah, we could use that one.
I think it was when I didn't give myself the option to bail out. We have a climb here in Colorado Springs called the Incline. And it's a couple thousand steps to the top of a mountain, almost just direct vertical. It's a very, very difficult thing. People come from all over the world to climb it. But there's halfway up, there's a bailout point. And I think, if you're going up steps like that, your legs start to get really shaky. So going back down the steps is really dangerous. So they have a little trail that does this wonderful, calm zigzag. But it requires knowledge of this is the bailout point, reading the signs. And then once you're past it, you kind of got to commit. So for me, it came when I had to leave my job suddenly because of a situation. And I was like, I don't want to get another job. I don't want to have my life in someone else's hands. I don't want to have them with the controls sitting there being like, she can stay, she needs to go. So I realized that I had to take control and that my bailout point was past. That, I'll start my business next year, or, I'll spend some time growing it on the side. No, I had to jump all in. I invested $10,000 right off the bat with some really good coaching and some courses and things that I felt would get me there. And that was scary. That was, $10,000 I didn't have. But I realized I was past it. And if I was going to get it, I needed to stop somebody else that was hiking past me and be like, please help. Because my only option is to get to the top. I've taken the other option off the table. And so I think for me, something that at the moment was really scary, tragic, alarming, all of those emotions were coursing through my veins of being like, oh no. I was planning on this income for another while. I was planning on this. I had just gotten engaged. I owned my home and I had all these factors, and I said, you know what, it's now or never. I realized I could go get a job flipping burgers and I could make enough to keep all this sustained, or I could just jump and I could just climb and say, this is it.
Yeah. Yeah, that's so powerful as well too. Because I know even in my story as well too. When I first got started, my first 2 years in business was the roughest. I what I had to go through in terms of figuring stuff out. I wish that upon no one, because my story was like I left the U.S. Marines, moved to California, like hundreds of miles away from family and friends, and they all told me it was a bad idea. I was like, "What are you talking about, man? I used to be a U.S. Marine. I'm like a certified badass, man. What do you mean I can't figure this out?" I moved down there to start my business, and the first 2 years, man, it was like this roller coaster thing. And I literally ended up broke, having to go back home and having to face a family who told me that, I told you this was a bad idea. I
Hmm.
believe there comes a point in time when, on any business's journey, where you get to a place where you have to decide, right? You have to decide whether, as you said, when you get up to that point where it's like, hey, this is if you want to turn back, this is a point.
Hmm.
We all get to that place, and I believe that those who are able to push through just a little bit longer, a little bit harder, they're the ones who typically make it through. The minute you give up and you say, you know what, it's too hard, let me take that turn and head back down, you probably won't make it, right?
No, no,
Mhm.
absolutely. I think failure is one of the great catalysts of our time. When I met my best friend, we had known each other only a couple of days, and she was sharing with me, oh, I'm not sure about performing at work because we work together. She says, I don't know, and I'm worried, and what are they saying about me? And I had not developed my full mental and verbal filter yet, so I was still a young whippersnapper. And it just came out of my mouth. And I said, I really hope you fail epically sometime very soon. And she was like, okay. And the reason we're still friends was because she re-engaged, and she said, tell me more. I need to understand why you just wished failure upon somebody.
Mhm.
And I said, no, because you haven't failed yet. And I think I have failed big.
Yeah.
I've failed publicly. I have failed with my face, not just like down in the dirt, but down in a pile of cow poo. And when you like get up and somebody helps you and hands you a towel and you're like, oh, look, the world's still spinning, the sun's still rising. I think look and focus in on your biggest failure, and not the moment and what that felt, as much as what it felt like right afterwards, and
Mhm.
realizing that what's the worst that could happen? So you jump. So you're, $10,000 in debt. There are people that are way worse off and are living a much better life. So decide it's worth the risk. Decide you're okay with failure. And more importantly, decide you're going to grow through it.
Yeah, love it, love it. Awesome. So what do you have for the audience? If someone wants to take the next step with you, what's do you have on your agenda?
Right now, I offered free diagnostic calls to people that I believe would be a good fit. So I would say anyone in your audience who's heard all of this and said, yeah, she's somebody I want to work with. I say you can't book one until you got a problem. You know how much I care about problems. So if you've got a really big issue that you're trying to navigate within your business, then the diagnostic call is free. I also have a free masterclass. If you're not yet started, you're thinking about dabbling or beginning a free, starting a freelance career, then I suggest the masterclass, because it asks 5 questions that are really essential for you to determine whether or not you'll be successful. And it goes over things that we've talked about, kind of like that. Do you have a support system? Because if you don't, it's going to be really, really important you get one before you launch out. So I would suggest a free masterclass. I'm sure we can share a link to that. And other than that, it would be reaching out to me personally. I know I'll be tagged here. You can just message me and we can talk about that free diagnostic call and see if it's a good fit, because my passion at the end of the day is to help people. I didn't get into this business to make a lot of money like many of my counterparts. I really got in here because I love solving problems. I have other business ventures that'll make me money to live on. And now I really do this business because I care about serving.
Hmm. Love it, love it. Awesome, Courtney. And guys, if you're watching this on the replay or on the live, the links Courtney shared to those resources, they should be right either above or below this video. So you can just click on and just get connected right to her. Well, Courtney, hey, thank you again so much for making the time to be here today. Do you have any final thoughts before we end?
No, I just want to say that to everybody out there, I hope you really fail big. And after you fail big, I hope you find help with somebody like Extus or somebody like myself who can help you get back up, because there are a lot of people out there with an arm out, with a handout offering to help you stand up, with a towel to wipe the shit off your face, and it's going to be great.
Awesome, love it, love it. Well, hey, enjoy. We'll talk soon, okay?
Okay.